people make decisions based on emotion, and then they back it up with logic. And it's once you realize that, that changes the sales process. Then it truly is a sales process instead of an estimating process. All right, Josh and Matt, welcome to the podcast. We're going to just jump right into this. We're going to be talking about some interesting technology that's out there. So Josh, we'll start with you. Just tell us a little bit about your company, how long you've been in business, what kind of work you do.
Thanks for having me, Todd. I really appreciate it. And good to see you, Matt. My company is Colorado Siding Repair. We are a full service exterior home remodeling company. We replace windows and siding on residential structures. We've been in business for just over 5 years. And we're in the Denver area. We have branches in Fort Collins, which is about an hour north, and up throughout the mountains, the high country area of Colorado. We do a lot of work in this area.
And how many employees do you have? Give us an idea of the scale of your operation.
We've grown pretty fast in 5 years. We're, I think, at 24 employees now, and we have 80 something contractors. And then, we're on track to do about 11 million in sales this year. Last year, we did about 330 full replacement projects.
That was going to be my question. 330 full replacements. So yeah, that's quite a bit of volume. Lots of houses. Yeah. So we're going to talk about some technology that you're using called Hover. And what were the reasons that led you to work with Hover in your business?
Well, Todd, when we first started out, we were really doing a lot of repair work. Hover, as you may or may not know, does this really cool thing where we walk around a house, we take 8 or 10 pictures, and it generates a 3D rendering of the house, but it also generates like a 30-page PDF of the measurements on the house. It measures everything from the perimeter of the openings to the square inches of siding. It identifies different types of product on the wall. It'll tell you the pitch of the roof, all kinds of really cool stuff. We had an issue early on where we would come out for repair work and a customer would say, yeah, this is over here, the north wall. This is where we've got some issues. We'd go and, measure it, work up a bid. And then through the course of conversation, they'd realize they want to do the back of the house as well. Every now and then we would use do a Hover, and we'd be able to go back to that Hover report and look at that specific wall to know how many square feet it was to add that in. But it actually started presenting us with a new opportunity where we could give the customer another quote for full replacement on the house and give them some design ideas, some pictures of what that might look like, basically. So yeah, that started, those are some of the reasons why we started using it. We did make a big push after maybe a year or so of doing that to say we want to use Hover on every single estimate that we run.
Gotcha. So I can imagine, I actually owned a construction business years ago, and we did siding, window, roofing replacement. And some of the problems that I ran into included salespeople measuring things wrong, salespeople missing things, salespeople not understanding how to measure a roof pitch. If you miss the roof pitch, that jacks up a lot of things. And if they don't understand how to measure siding on a gable end, that causes problems, shortages, overages. What were some of the specific challenges that you were running into that either caused you to look at Hover, or as it turns out, Hover solves for you?
Well, I'll tell you, Hover is incredibly good at what they do. And one of the things that we had an opportunity to do was to try out a bunch of different measurement platforms. A lot of those come from the sky, pictures from satellites. The cool thing about Hover was we could have all of these pictures that we had taken, and it was so detailed and so accurate. Basically, it really helped us to overcome some of the measuring disparities that we were having, even from sales guy to sales guy as we were growing. Hover also really did something profound for us when we switched to using it on every single estimate, and that is that it helped us to kind of make a push into the design oriented approach to selling. So there's one thing to have the tools of Hover, of design, measurements, all of that, but the other side of it was we could be more transparent with our customers. We could show them the Hover report, show them that our measurements were accurate, and by creating a rendering of what their house could look like, we were able to appeal to the emotional side, not just the reason side for customers. You want to love your home, right? So if you can go and improve your curb appeal and make your home something beautiful and something that you love pulling up to every day at the end of a long work day, that's an awesome thing. But a lot of people don't replace their siding, more than once in their life. So replacing your siding and windows is such a huge investment on your already biggest investment. To be able to have some images and see what that will look like, and to get a feel for that, and to allow yourself to feel some of those emotions right up front, I think that's really powerful. So that's something that really helped with our customers and with our sales process. And I'll tell you, that really, it changed things as far as the nature of what we do. We really actually started shifting away from repairs and towards full replacement, really trying to serve homeowners better. That's kind of what the market was asking for, and Hover kind of allowed us to do that. So
yeah. And
if I could say one more thing about that.
Sure.
Recently, Hover has launched a new product, and pardon me if I'm stepping on your toes at all, Matt, but it's really an HD rendering product. So it's something where we can take our measurements, we can go out, speak with a homeowner, get them, an idea of what some things could look like on their house, get some further notes, and then turn around and submit that again to Hover and get back this HD rendering of their home that literally looks like a picture. I mean, we can put deer in the yard, we can have a hot tub, we can redo the deck. Like it's beautiful, it's stunning. And that has really had a huge impact on us and on our closing rate as we've started using that.
I want to unpack a couple of things there. You said something about the sales process being more emotional and less logical or reason based. A lot of contractors would say, you know what, people make decisions based on logic. These are logical decisions based on numbers, investment, ROI, home prices, etc. What have you found? Is that true? Are people making decisions about big purchases for their home based on logic, or is it emotional?
I think it's both, honestly. And I think it depends on the customer. I think with most customers on something big like this, what you need reassurance. So you need to know that a company is acting in your best interest, is trustworthy, has a good track record. If you can check some of those security boxes and some of those logic boxes first, then we're all human beings. Like, we're all emotional. So then it allows you to kind of get excited and feel some of those emotions about your home. And honestly, your home is like one of your greatest sources of good feelings and bad, right? Anxiety, all of that. it's your biggest investment, but it's also a sacred space. It's where you go to rest and recreate and all of that. So our homes are a big deal, I think. So I think it's probably both. And if we can realize that, my job is to do everything that I can to allow them to place their trust in me. Not just to do a good job, not just to set up all the processes to run perfectly and seamlessly, not just to utilize technology as a tool, but then to communicate all of that to the customer, to put all of that out there on the internet and places where they can readily find it, and to ask customers for reviews so that they can read what other people have said. Ask customers if they would be willing to, give testimonials. If I can do all of that, then I can allow customers to feel safe doing the emotional side of it.
Yeah.
And I still think that they need to, verify, probably trust and verify, and make sure that my prices are fair, get some other quotes. But my job, I think, is both. It's really a big part of my job is to allow them to trust and allow them to be free with their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think emotions play a big part of it. I've even heard people say 95% of decisions are emotion, and then the other 5% is logical. So people make decisions based on emotion, and then they back it up with logic. And it's once you realize that, that changes the sales process. Then it truly is a sales process instead of an estimating process. So yeah, good stuff. I want to talk for a few minutes about how you're using Hover. I'm hearing you say you're using it in a variety of ways, but I want to talk about how it's most impactful for you in a few of the different stages in the customer journey. So in the estimating process, when your sales folks are going out to measure, what's the best part about Hover for you during that phase?
Well, that part's interesting, Todd. And this comes into another thing we love about Hover, some of the tools. So we do something really interesting. And that is when a customer calls in or gets on our website, fills out a form, gets an invitation to schedule their own appointment, or they talk to our scheduling coordinator and they get an appointment on the books. The next thing that happens for them is they get some confirmation emails, they get some information, it gets put on their calendar, and they get a text message inviting them to download the Hover app. And then they get some texts and some emails. They don't have to do it, but really what we've found is 92% of our customers are amenable to the idea of doing this, and 70% are attempting to follow through, and over 50% are actually successful in doing this. They go outside, use the Hover app as the instructions tell them to. They take their own pictures, and then the whole rendering process happens before we even get there. This does two things. It's two really exciting, cool things. One is it prepares our sales guys so that when they show up, and by the way, we don't call them sales people, we call them project guides. The thing is, a quick side note, the thing is, it's your home. You're kind of the hero of the story. We're just here to guide you through the process. So our sales guys are really project guides. But when a project guide comes out for the appointment and you already have the Hover done, that allows them to do a lot more talking with you about things. It allows them to tell you right up front what your price ranges are, what kind of money you should be expecting to start budgeting. None of what we do is high pressure. We're not going out and trying to, quick close people on a $60,000 project. We're coming out and giving you an idea. Hey, is this on your radar? Are you thinking about that this might be a $60,000, $70,000 project, or is that even something that was in your mind? So that's one thing it allows us to do. It allows us to show them some designs, that kind of stuff, and get them excited. But the other side is it allows customers to go and start playing with the 3D model themselves before we even get there. So they can get in and they can start playing with colors. They can start changing things. It's very exciting.
That's that's pretty brilliant. I love that. Having the homeowner download the app, get them engaged in the process, get them excited. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's that is Todd. What it does is it gets them engaged. So even if they are not messing around with the design ahead of time, they are going out and taking some pictures, and they're excited to do it. They're having fun with it, and they're more engaged. So it's really at the front end, on the front side. That's how we're using it on the front end, and that's a really exciting thing that we're doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about on the operations side. Once the sale has been made, what is the best part about Hover for you during the operations portion?
Well, I'll say we use Hover, continue to use it throughout the sale process. And once we make that sale, then we use it in a number of different ways. We do lean into the measurements. We continue to do that. So we pull a lot of the measurements out, and we pull them into a number of templates that we have built out, where we can build out labor orders for our installers, material orders for our various materials that we're going to be putting on the house. And we also use it as a guide to help our installation team know what they're doing throughout the project. So we're going and creating printouts of all of the elevations of the house. The customer is initialing off on those to say, yeah, this is signing off on those, to say, yeah, this is what I want my house to look like. That becomes, it gets appended to the contract basically, and it gets turned over to the install team, and then they get to see. So there's no question, there's no wondering. I think if you've ever talked to the installers themselves, one of the things they'll tell you is they're like, I just want to do my job. I just want to get to work. I don't want to be wondering if I'm doing this right, or be trying to remember something that somebody told me 2 weeks ago. If they can have a set of plans, which in the remodel world, we don't always have, particularly on exteriors, that they can go back to and they can reference, it allows them to do a better job, basically.
Yeah, what I've found is a lot of the problems on a job site, regardless of what type of job it is, can be traced back to two things. One is what I call the JETS thinking trap, the just enough to start, where we give them just enough to get started, get them out there, get them mobilized. We'll figure out the rest later. You can ask the homeowner for these decisions. And that is the root cause of a lot of problems. And the other one is what I call a bad handoff, which is not handing off the field team everything they need to finish. It's just giving them enough to get started. So it sounds like by the time your install crews get out there, they have everything they need to finish. They have a full, what I would call a good handoff.
That's the goal. That's definitely the hope. And Hover has been definitely a big part of doing that. I think that's one of the big reasons why I would say, looking back, it was 100% the right decision to say, hey, we run 1,800, 2,100 leads a year, appointments. It's an investment. It's not just a cost, it's an investment. We're going to actually invest in this, in doing a Hover on every single one, because it's worth it. It's really, we're investing in our business and in the customer by doing it.
Yeah. Tell us what life looks like now that you're using Hover. Maybe it's hard. If you can compare what life was like before Hover compared to what it is now, that would be great. But what's it like now using Hover?
Well, it's more streamlined. There are less situations of maybe somebody dropping the ball, so to speak, and it's more standardized. And then I'll tell you one other thing that's kind of cool. When we started using those HD renderings from Hover, that was really powerful. So we don't do that on every single job. That has an added expense, basically, that you'll probably see in just a second. It is totally worth it. But one of the things that I could say life looks like now is when we do a design appointment with somebody, a design consultation, and we start using that HD rendering, our closing rate goes from about 25% to 50%. So that's a big jump. That more than justifies any added cost for us. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like it's been working for us. We're growing tremendously. So
yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks, Josh. So Matt, let's switch over and talk to you a little bit. What is your role at Hover?
First, thanks a lot, Josh, for partnering with Hover. It was really exciting to hear what you just shared, and I think going to make a lot of people at our company feel really good about the work they're doing, because this is exactly what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you. I'm the COO at Hover. I run sort of all things non sort of product and engineering at the company. So sales, marketing, operations, customer success, support, sort of all roll into me. I've been here for 4 years now. Sometimes it feels like a couple months, and sometimes it feels like 25 years, somewhere in between there. But it's been a lot of fun. I love the industry. Really sort of just a real product serving real customers. And it's been a lot of fun to be here helping people like Josh now for 4 years.
So Matt, you have an interesting backstory, interesting career that I'd like to chat about a little bit, but how did to Hover?
Oh, it's a good question. So a little backstory here. I was in the military. I was Navy SEAL for about 6 years. After that, some teammates and I, we got out, and we sort of the real estate boom of 06, 07. And we got into house flipping. And we had no idea what we were doing, but we were flipping homes, and we were making a lot of money, as everyone was at that time period. And a homeowner came to me and came to us and said, "Hey, I love the work you're doing. Can you help me, do some stuff to my house?" We were doing a bunch of work on the street, and I didn't know, what to do. So I went out to Office Max, because I'm like, I got to figure out a way to visualize this thing. And I bought off the shelf rendering software. Software not rendering, but 3D software. I took measurements of their entire house. I had an dictaphone. I walked around, listened to all the things they said they wanted to do, and then I reconstructed it on the software. Thought it was going to take an hour or two. Took 2 weeks to do and learn the software. And they ended up, buying the project. But the whole time they were saying to me, "This is amazing. I can't believe that no one does this." But I didn't know. I was thinking of constraint. I had no clue that this was going to take this long, and it was probably a bad idea. But we did win the work. The company, of course, went completely bankrupt when the crash happened. But that was my forward in construction. After that, I transitioned into a career in consulting, and then ultimately technology. Through the process, I met a mentor of mine who was an investor in Hover. And sort of right when I was ready to leave my last company I was at, he said, "Hey, you should talk to the CEO, AJ." And AJ sat me down. He opened up his computer and he started to show me this technology, this computer vision technology that takes pictures of a home, that generates a 3D model with accurate measurements of every single, line on the home that you can interact with. And my mind sort of exploded. I'm thinking back to this experience I had, which took me 2 weeks to create a visual experience for a homeowner. And now they can do it in an automated way through computer vision and allow people to see the possibilities of their home. So I saw that. I'm like, where do I sign up? I'm ready to go. Also, AJ was a great human, and I think a great leader that I wanted to work for. So that was sort of my introduction to Hover.
Gotcha. And how did Hover get started as a company?
Yeah, good question too. It's interesting. A lot of you read the best practices on how to start a company. It's find a problem statement and go solve it. It's not the case with Hover. CEO AJ is from a farm town, really small farm town, Chalmers, Indiana. grew up on a farm raising hogs and growing corn. And he's a big dreamer. He's a big thinker. He loves technology. He's a technologist at heart. And he also was in the Marine Corps and saw this opportunity to build better software they called it photogrammetry, to like build targeting software to help people understand spatially where, buildings and structures exist in the world. And he got into that and became obsessed with it. What if we could create a 3D map of the world? What if we had all of this data on buildings and structures in a way that was meaningful, that we could use for some purpose? It wasn't starting out with the idea to move into sort of construction, but they spent probably 5 years just developing the tech. And that was a long, hard journey with some smart people. And then they were looking for use cases, and they quickly found exterior home improvement. And also we work closely with a lot of insurance carriers as well. It's the same concept though. It's people that are trying to see what the home could look like in the future of the project. And they're trying to understand the scope and cost of that project. And then everything sort of centers around that 3D data. And now we're building software along the workflow. So we have software that flows into visualization, into estimation. And now we're actually taking all of that from an estimate to a direct order through 3 of the top distributors, Beacon, ABC, and hopefully soon here SRS.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by some of that workflow. I want to get into that in a minute, but let's talk about some of the contractors you work with. So, and actually not just contractors. It seems like homeowners can download the app. They can get some value out of the app.
Yes.
Perusing your website, it looks like you work with designers and architects. Someone, let's say, who's looking at exterior design, perhaps an addition or a renovation. I work with a lot of custom builders, and are custom new builders using Hover? Because I could see some benefit there, but is that a use case for you guys?
Timely question. We're sort of, I don't know how the right way to frame it for someone external to our company, but we're halfway through launching our new construction solution, which is essentially you can take blueprints. You can take photos of the blueprints, just upload them through your app in Hover, and we can generate a 3D model. We can also generate a high definition rendering. So you might get blueprints that don't include some beautiful rendering that you might be trying to sell the homeowner on. With that also, we generate measurements and takeoffs for sort of exterior parts of the home, so siding or roofing. I have a friend in North Carolina who's been pushing me a long time. He does probably 20 homes a year. He's a custom builder. And he just, it really for him is now doing takeoffs on, blueprints. And also, he doesn't have to call around to all the distributors. So he can go in there, he has an account now and with one of the major distributors, and he can just start ordering directly through the product as well. So it's really helping him speed up his time. We're hearing for a lot of people too, this is helping them get into quoting if they're a contractor supporting new construction and they're trying to win work. Maybe it's for a development. The time for them to turn around bids and proposals, this really cuts down that time. So, and saves them a lot of money, honestly.
Yeah, I can see even with, maybe it's not the intended use, but custom home builder has a very complicated home. It's framed and they need to do detailed takeoffs. They don't have that from a digital standpoint. They can do the same thing. They can take pictures, create the model, get detailed takeoffs, have those installation drawings, selections can be made with clients. It avoids a lot of chaos down the road.
It does.
So
it does.
Yeah. So I find that when there's a solution like this, there are typically misconceptions and myths that you run into. I'm curious, what are some of those misconceptions and myths that contractors have around the problems you guys are solving? And how, maybe another way to think of it is how could or should they be thinking differently about some of these problems?
Yeah. Well, I think there's two dimensions to this. I think the first one is around measurement accuracy. There's some question of like, hey, I'm not hand measuring this thing. Can I trust it? It's photos on a phone. How do you understand the roof measurements, the siding measurements? Our computer vision sort of ways that we aggregate data were what we find to be the most accurate remote measurement solution. Even more so than aerial. Aerial is pretty far away and they're taking photos of properties. We have ground truth. So we have a Hague study that we've done. They're sort of the world leader in sort of understanding sort of technology that enters into the space, and they've done some evaluations on it, statistically significant evaluations to prove that we're the most accurate solutions. That's one. I think the second one is really around what Josh is saying. Josh is sort of feels like he's entered into the matrix that we see a lot of customers enter into, and then all of a sudden their business starts growing a lot. You talked about the idea of buying through emotion, and I think there's a big leap that needs to happen in the industry for a lot of folks. They're very comfortable going to do a repair. They're very comfortable just sort of presenting on a claim exactly what is there. But the reality is people buy because of the way you make them feel. Yes, there's sort of key questions. How much will this cost? What will it look like? And can I trust you? And probably how long is the project going to take? I think Hover specifically can help for a lot of people just on day one with what is it going to cost, right? Our measurements flow into a scoping. It's either our estimator or theirs. They can get to an accurate cost. And just the way that we lay it out in the PDF and everything, I think it builds trust with the homeowner. But the real unlock here is how you're going to grow your business. And you grow your business by creating an emotional connection with the homeowner. And I think what we get from some contractors is, I don't need to use a 3D model. I'm good. Even if they're in roofing, they'll say that. It makes more sense in roofing because it's not as much of an aesthetic decision. But we find no matter what, when you start presenting options to a homeowner and show them what the possibilities of their home could be visually, you're going to start to create an emotional connection with them, and you're going to stand out. A lot of people aren't doing that. And this is why, Josh is winning right now in the market, because he's taking the chance to sort of maybe unwind a little bit of a process that I understand, right? You've built your business on that process. It's why you're winning. And it can be scary to think about changing things. But when you start changing things in a way where you're helping people see the possibilities of their home, right? I think our 3D model that you can interact with Design Studio, sometimes the homeowner can do it. The professional can do it with the homeowner. You can use that as a concepting tool, and then you can send it off to us and we can generate really nice renderings. We call them hover renderings. It's what Josh has mentioned, the HD renderings. And this is going to make this thing pop. And you think about your competition at that point, right? What are they doing to show the home, and possibly just 3-4 other people walking in the door, just giving them triple carbon paper with numbers on it? I think with Hover, we like to think about, what are we doing for the professional to help the homeowner, right? The costing is, you can get really detailed estimates if you want to be more transparent about where this is coming from. On the visual side, you're actually showing them these different possibilities and elements they can do. And I think if you do that, you're going to win every time. So those are the areas I think that there's some misconceptions. Like, do we really need to connect with them emotionally? I think you do, even on roofing projects. It's proven with some of our biggest customers that are doing north of $200 million a year, and they use us on every single project, and they use design in every single project for the homeowner. And then, I think the other one is we are accurate. Our measurements hold up and help people cost projects.
It reminds me of your first statement about people questioning the accuracy. Reminds me of one of my first jobs. I worked with an estimator named Gary. This was probably 25 years ago. Gary used an adding machine. And I showed Gary a spreadsheet. Like, Gary, you could make your life a lot easier. And he said, yeah, but can I trust it? And well, it turns out that Gary had there was some little slide button on his adding machine that was set wrong, and it rounded everything down or up. And his several yards of paper tape were all messed up. So, it's new, but this, you can't trust it. And I would say the information that technology is going to provide is way more trustworthy than a salesperson who's going out there with a tape measure and eyeballing it from the ground. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so it sounds like some people are looking at this as a logical solution to a logical problem. But what I'm hearing you say is, yes, it's going to give you more accurate information. Yeah, it'll save you a few feet of ridge vent. It'll save you some trips to the supplier when you under order stuff, but it's going to help you grow your business because it's tapping into the real brain, the buying part of the brain of your customer.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. It's funny. One of the first sort of customer meetings I went on 4 years ago was a contractor out of Missouri, and they were also talking about labor and the challenge of finding people that can be sales reps or even on the production side. And it's been hard in the industry, I think, for some people. And I think Hover also helps a little bit take people from, maybe having a little understand the industry, at least in the sales process, to being an effective employee. He was showing me this person they had just hired from GNC, and they taught him how to do roofing, and then they taught him how to sell with the Hover 3D model, and they ended up selling a really large siding project. And it was something at the time they weren't really doing. And then it became a major expansion point for their business, and they weren't doing it because siding is hard to measure, harder to install. You can't do it in one day. Roofing's like you can do one call close. There's not a lot of decisions, and you can put it on the house in one day. It's very scalable. They kind of went away from siding, and for a lot of reasons, and labor was one of them. And I think we're also helping a little bit in the labor space as well, getting people to, you can trust the measurements, you can trust the scoping, helps them also present better to the homeowner.
Yeah. So the way I understand it, homeowners can download the app, or your contractors can download the app. They can take pictures of a property. It will create a 3D model. It will then generate very detailed takeoffs without any measurements. Let's talk about this direct ordering tool. This is interesting to me. Talk about that.
Yeah. So we have partnered with two of the biggest distributors. We're really close to the third one. ABC and Beacon are in, and we're really close to the SRS right now. And I think the idea is you go out and you're scoping a project. It goes back to your production crew, and they're having to, bill a bill of materials, and they're going to send it off to potentially their rep at one of these distributors. A rep then is going to take it. They're going to either hand enter it or send it to someone in the back office, the branch, to hand enter that information in. A lot of these distributors have had to build their businesses by just sort of taking orders however they can get them. It's one of the areas they'll sort of say, "Hey, you want to send us a napkin? You want to send us a photo of what you think is going to cost? Just send us the Hover report. We'll figure it out." So from that, you get a lot of wasted time on the side of the contractor and the production side, getting those orders sent out, sort of accumulating the bill of materials, and then on the actual distributor side, there's wasted time, and that stuff actually matters a lot now because there's material shortages. Like, you lose days on that, it could throw the whole process of the project off. Costs aren't locked in. You quoted it on one, lumber goes up, again, or siding goes up again, and it's a challenge. So we're just trying to streamline the process for the contractors and the production crew. You use the Hover measurements. You can use your own, estimator if you want, but we can flow in then from the measurements into a production order. So you could even done the estimates in a separate place, but this production order is going to be the exact amount of materials that you need for this project. We'll give you the price on it, and then you just hit a button and it's ordered in your distributor. That's it. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's the next frontier for integrating projects. The last 5 or 10 years has been project management software, scheduling, task management, things like that.
Yeah.
Doing estimating. The next frontier is to extend it from the contractor directly to the supplier, and real-time pricing, ordering it. And I think that's an important distinction. Right now, the supply chain is strained. The labor pool is strained. Everyone's incredibly busy. Think about the amount of wasted effort on the labor side, from the distributor side, doing takeoffs, right? Mm-hmm. And if you could eliminate a lot of that wasted effort on takeoffs, then they would be able to reclaim that time and use it on real projects. And I think there's a tremendous amount of effort that's wasted by installers, subcontractors, general contractors, suppliers, sales reps doing takeoffs on projects that aren't going to go anywhere. Yeah. So why not let technology do that? Yeah. So Josh, one last question for you. We've been talking about a lot of the features of Hover. What would you say is the best part about Hover for you? What's your favorite thing about Hover?
Well, I don't know. I'd say it's a toss-up, maybe, between a couple of things. on one side, I really want my whole business to function as a system with a bunch of processes within it. And Hover has worked directly with us to help set up a lot of automations and streamline a lot of our processes as it relates to how we use Hover's tools. That's one of my big favorite things, because that really appeals to me as the leader of the business. It allows us to have continuity if we don't have very much turnover, but if somebody does leave, it allows systems to continue working. But I think the thing that might win out maybe above that as my favorite thing is probably the renderings, the HD renderings. That right now is so appealing and so just beautiful and shocking and fun. And we've been doing fun little things with it, so to be able to have a customer take their own pictures, and then we're coming out, we're seeing them, we're showing them some of the 3D model, some pictures of what things can look like. And within a number of days, we're able to pull up and, show them these HD renderings of what their house could look like. And it looks like a picture. And we've put their chickens in it. And they made the chickens look like the same color as the ones in the pictures. We've been doing some little things like that. We call them Easter egg, little things here and there that we can point out. It's not every one, but like 1 in 10. We do little things like that, and the customer, you should see how blown away they are. It's so fun being able to serve our homeowners like that, So I think that might be my favorite thing.
Yep. Great stuff. So Josh, while you've got the mic, if folks want to follow you, connect with you on social media, where are some of the best places for them to go?
Go to Instagram, look at our pictures. Yeah, it's just CO Siding Repair, Colorado Siding Repair. And check us out there. But if you want to hear a little more of what we've been up to, they can look for me on LinkedIn. Definitely go find me on LinkedIn.
Gotcha. I'll include that link in the show notes. And Matt, if folks want to find out more about Hover and look into how it can help their business, where's the best place for them to go?
So go to hover.to and give us a try. We got a 2-week free trial right now. Come on, give it a shot. Even if you're not in the industry and you're just looking to see a 3D model of your home and what the technology can do, love to have you try it out. And, you can hit me up on LinkedIn if you have questions or feedback. I'm happy to chat through anything. And, again, thanks, Josh, for partnering with us, and to all our customers out there. We're just really grateful to have you as partners in this.
Absolutely. Great stuff. So go to hover.to, check it out, get a 2-week free trial. And maybe try to get, if you have chickens, apparently there's a potential you can get your chickens placed in your rendering. That might be a special request. No guarantees. Sounds like
special request.
Special request. Yeah. All right. Well, Josh, thanks for taking time to share about your experience. Matt, thanks for the work you guys are doing. Thanks for taking the time to be on here. This has been great.